A one-all draw with the Millers at the weekend has sparked open warfare at TTE Towers, with some idiots claiming it was a progressive performance and other more sensible people like me saying it was absolute trash. Joining us on episode 441, that serves me right, doesn't it, is not only Ross, but
Mm,
also Mr. Ryan Jeferiss. Doesn't he look well, Ross? Doesn't he look
looks
mature
very
and
well. He's
great?
growing well, growing into. He's a big growing boy. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm good. It's good to be back, lads. It's good to be back.
Yes.
I think this is my first pod since I joined the club full time. So it's very nice to be back on, and thank you for having me back. Uh,
Always.
I'm excited for this. Let's see where
Yeah.
it goes.
You're here to referee, and I've already got in
Yeah.
Ben's head because he called it trash and not rubbish. So score one to me, I would
Score up
say.
for American terms.
Yeah.
So your official title is communications executive, isn't it?
Yes, communications
God,
executive,
you've
which
come a long way, haven't you? You've come a long way in a very short space of time, Ryan. How does it feel to be working for the club that you've supported all your life, basically?
it's it's still one of those. I get asked the question by family, by friends, are you bored yet? No is the answer. I still love it. I still don't get me wrong. Sometimes when you've lost and you've got to travel back, it's a bit of a ugh. But then I look at it and go, I've just been
Mm.
paid to watch a football game, so it's still surreal. It's still great. I still love it, and the relationships that are sort of building around the club and everything again is so surreal. I met Shane Long on Saturday, which for me
Yeah, we saw that.
incredible.
Were
Yeah.
you at the club or at the Oracle?
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
Yeah,
I
good.
we don't talk about the Oracle visit. No, I managed to get my first ever Reading shirt signed as well, which is pretty cool. Like
What,
Nice.
by Shane?
yeah, by Shane, a little kid shirt with long 9 on the back, and I got it signed. So yeah, I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Amazing.
Amazing. Well, we're going to find out a little bit more about what you actually do, because it's nice to hear. You know, we had Rick on last week. We've got you on this week. It's nice to hear from people at the club. You know, and you're there day to day, quite literally. You know, down at Bearwood at the stadium as well, up and down the country with the team on the media side. So we're going to find out a little bit more about what you do, as well as talking about the game on Saturday. And whilst I don't agree with anything Ross has got to say on this pod, I will defend to the death his right to say it. So
Exactly.
we're going to get into that as well, really.
Yeah, yeah. Now, just real quick, listeners, before we do get into that, I just want to advise that none of you stand in the rain before you listen to this podcast because it may
As livid,
cloud
as
your
livid.
judgment of what's going
Honestly, I
on.
was raging. I was like, how difficult is it to operate a ticket at a turnstiles? And everyone's like, oh, is this the right turnstile? So like, to get out of the
Do you know,
way.
I was
You're
gonna say I
spoiling it.
actually felt bad for the club because I was like, you know, when you've got like lots of people there who aren't always there every single week, it is the little things. It's like you don't
Yeah.
know your ticket goes in this little thing here, and there's just those extra 6 seconds for 5,000 more people really adds up. So,
The
yeah,
thing that did me was when, the turnstile that I go through, which clearly states season ticket holders only, and
sure.
people are trying to put like paper tickets for them. Like, just stop it. Just whatever that is, you print at home
We're
stuff or
gonna
whatever. It's just not going to work.
next to the like cutouts of like Kingsley and Queensley, we'll just have one of Ben saying like, "Get your blinking ticket right, like don't get out of
Yeah.
my line."
And listen, I'm quite glad. I mean, there were people there using paper tickets. I don't know if that's possible because I'm pretty sure that we've stopped that. But people did have physical bits of paper, and they were
It'll,
trying to get in the turnstiles with them, and that's
it'll be
that's that was what.
print at
Printed.
home to print at home tickets rather than
Yeah,
paper.
Okay. I thought we'd
yeah,
stopped all that, but obviously not. And yeah, they were just they spoilt it. They spoilt it straight away.
yeah.
So
Wow.
anyway,
Look,
we'll get into that in a minute. Before we do that, thank you as always to ZC Said Films, who are our main sponsors and remain our main sponsors currently. Not that we're trying to tout ourselves out for more sponsorship,
yeah, it
but
was
if
an
you're
odd way
interested,
of
get in
wording
touch.
it. Yeah, and if
Yeah,
you'd
well,
like,
just trying to spice it up a little bit, really.
yeah,
And of
yeah,
course, to the Amazons for their lending of my blood. Cracking
indeed.
tune. They're resting now for the winter months. The Amazons. They've gone into a sort of hibernation after
You got to
their.
keep your voice calm, in the
Exactly right.
winter, so that the dry air doesn't get to it too much. It's
Yeah, and
important.
it has been feeling very wintry in Tilehurst, and of course the wider Reading area. So yeah, as it was on Saturday, it was horrible on Saturday. Horrible weather down in RG2. So we're going to talk about the game itself. We're going to talk about what didn't go well and just that. and nothing else on episode 441 of the Tilehurst podcast. Right, Ryan, we're very conscious that these are your colleagues we're talking about here. So we're not, we'll bring you in as and when, you just chip, you know how it works. You've listened to enough of these and been on enough of these already to know that it's always a bun fight when there's three of us on here. We're going to talk about the 1-1 draw. On paper, it's a good result. Against a team that had conceded, 3 goals in 6, I believe.
Well, hang on a minute. You can't steal my headline stat with your first sentence, but all right.
I'll do what I want, mate. I'll do what I want.
It's your podcast, isn't it? Yeah, fair
well,
enough.
Exactly, yeah. Ross did point out I can't take any credit for Googling that because that was Ross's fact of the day on Saturday. Absolute rocket from my man Charlie Savage. I mean,
yeah,
it's ridiculous the goals that he scored. That has to be up there. And we can talk about this, Ryan, to start with. Possibly the best goal he's ever scored.
It's close between that and Colchester away because they're both very similar.
Yeah.
Colchester away was a very, very good goal. In my opinion, it's the best. And I'm also throwing it in the conversation of top 5 best goals I've seen on the select car. Because you knew as soon as that ball was bouncing what he was going to do, and then you just watch the angle when it rises into that top corner, and I was just a bit like, it's in, and I said in my tweet caption, which I was very proud of, Charlie Savage, what have you just done? Because it was, I loved it, absolutely loved it. It's best goal he scored, and I'd say in the conversation for top 5 best goals I've seen at select car.
I put it down right away I think in my ratings, I wrote it down right away as the best goal Charlie Savage has ever scored for Reading. And Colchester was the one I was thinking of too, because my brain immediately discounts anything with his left foot. I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's a 1, it's fine, but with the right foot, and you're doing that too. And a ball sits up for a player like that so rarely throughout the season. But I agree with you, just as he was approaching it, you knew something special was coming out of his foot.
Team news then. Not that we're about to preview the game that's just been done, but we just talk about that. So Monsters Inc. Williams was brought in straight away.
Oh yes, that took me a minute.
He was in there. What did you make of his inclusion, Ross, to start with? Let's talk about individual players. Just to kind of see where you're at with these players, and
sure.
Matt Ritchie was in there as well. Just talk to us a little bit about those two coming into the starting 11.
Yeah, I actually think that's a good place to start because you've talked about and you and I have debated this season so far, Daniel Chirwa, and sort of how we feel about him, whether it's good or bad. By the way, real quick, I found a player playing while I was playing like FC26. I found another player called Chirwa, which is spelt more in the way that you would expect that particular thing to be said. So anyway, I thought this was a game in which we really missed Chirwa. So thinking back to the Stevenage game, there was a chance where Kelvin took the ball down and then turned and immediately played it in behind across the ground. And Chirwa was able to get across the back shoulder of his defender and get to that ball before him. And then there was a sort of miscue with the goalkeeper. He didn't end up scoring. But in any case, I thought we were kind of missing that threat in behind. Sim pulled some stats on the touches in this game from the starting wingers, so Ritchie and Williams. And really, they just weren't getting too close to the box throughout. Obviously, Williams had the moment where he went up for a header that eventually fell to Charlie Savage midway through the first half. And I think Ritchie, had one shot sort of early in the second half, but I didn't really think that those two managed to affect the game in the way that, maybe Chirwa has been able to, maybe just the raw pace of players like Chirwa and Lane has been able to so far. I thought it was interesting too that Jacob nowhere near that starting lineup again, because he was the player used as that sort of wide option in the first game. Even though he's fullback, he's kind of pushing really far forward. And that kind of tells you something else about Ritchie, I think. Obviously, a Brafer, if you looked, was very, very high throughout. And so that kind of pushed Ritchie inside a little bit more into that half space that I think that Lane in particular has done pretty well occupying so far, and I thought Richie struggled there a little bit. There were quite a few passes that appeared to bounce off him, and I think that really maybe that more traditional wide forward position works better for him. So yeah, individually, I thought we were kind of missing a little bit. We're certainly without Chirwa today, but I think really just the threat of the pace that Lane and Chirwa have, I thought that was missing from the team a little bit. Yeah, so individually, I mean, I didn't think that those players, Richie and Williams, are awful, but certainly not quite at the level that Chirwa and Lane have been at.
I don't think it was a good game for Richie at all, really. He obviously got booked, and then he felt the need to keep nibbling away at the ref. And on another day, he could have been sent off, for dissent. Really, he was very very close to the wire.
He got a little bit wound up, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
he did. He kind of head's gone a little bit, and I was surprised to see him come out in the second half. Really,
Mm.
I mean, we could talk about midfield in a bit because for me, it's not working at all at the moment. Were you surprised, Ryan, that Andy Rinomhota, who is one of the players that I wholeheartedly approve of coming back, by the way, fantastic player. Were you surprised that he didn't start the game?
Not necessarily, and I mostly think it's because obviously he hasn't played a game of football this season. He's been a free agent for a while. I can understand maybe the approach of waiting for it, sort of bringing him in a little bit more slowly. I also think that the position that he would come into is obviously one of the two holding roles in midfield. South scored against Stevenage, had a very good game. You're not going to drop him. Wing's the captain, best player, still in my opinion. Very hard to dislodge either one of them without either moving Wingy to a 10 or South potentially you dropping a player who's in form. So it wasn't necessarily a shock that he didn't start. And I think given the game state of the situation, it wasn't a shock that he didn't come on as well, because I thought we would, well, by the time we came around to make the subs, we were chasing the game and it maybe not have been the right game for him. I'd be interested to see if Liam's ever going to lean towards using him at fullback. I think they used him at fullback at Cardiff, I want to say, for a little bit. I don't know where he played under Rotherham, I would assume in midfield, but yeah, it doesn't really surprise me too much that he didn't start.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think there needs to be a shake up in that midfield. I would probably put him in, in front of the back four as a kind of a holding defensive player there, and push Wing and Savage up furthermore because I feel like this game, and the reason I don't think it was a good performance really is because I feel like I've seen 6 or 7 of these already this season. Regardless of the fact it was a draw, I just feel like we're missing a lot of impetus, particularly in the final third. I mean, I don't think it was Kelvin's best game, and everyone listening to this knows that we see great potential in him, but he's just not fulfilling it for whatever reason for me at the moment. And I said that in the post match video that I did after the game. Now Ross will come back at me straight away and say on another day he could have scored 3 goals.
He should have
My
scored. He
response,
should have had two by the end of the first half for sure. He should have had at least one of the two, right? So I think the thing that was really tricky about this is that you've nicked my stat now. Rotherham have conceded 3 in the last 6 games, and they conceded 2 of those goals in like a 10-minute span in one game, I think. And we've seen that sometimes teams wet themselves for a little bit, like that just happens in football. So look, this is a really, really tough defense, and I kind of went in looking, okay, what is it that's tough about this? The thing that's kind of made Reading actually finally work for me in the last few weeks has been actually getting Kamari Doyle into the spaces in that sort of like grey area between the final third and the middle third to break the line and turn and then be playing Reading, towards Kelvin or towards one of the wingers. And Rotherham did a really great job of basically making his life a misery throughout, especially the first half. They had a really, really compact, they were in this sort of back 3 system, and they would drop into a back 5 that was really, really tight very quickly. And then they had this sort of like 2-2-1 thing that stayed incredibly central. It basically choked Kamari Doyle in the middle of the field, made it very hard for us to get the ball to him. And he didn't end up creating a chance until something like the 90th minute or something like that. A lot of the chance creation then came from Wing, and a lot of the actual like forward passing and stuff like that came from Wing. And I think we'll debate later a bit more about Wing. And I've talked about there being like a wing problem this year. And I think I need to sort of reframe this as a wing debate about where he should be used and what he should be doing. Because I agree with Ryan that he is still the best player on the team. He created what for me was Reading's best chance of the day when Kelvin took it around the goalkeeper and almost scored very, very early on. And he's done that with two players on his back, pumping the ball down into a channel, which is an old school Noel Hunt thing, quite frankly. You know, there's not that much fancy stuff going on there. So he still has this value to him. And in that game the other day, he was able to attempt 7 passes into the box. I think he got some really poor touches off Doyle, Ehibachiman, Richie, a few players, and no other player other than Kelvin Ehibachiman got close to making that many touches or passes into the box. So for me, we are now getting him a little bit further forward. His heat map shows that he was a little bit further forward, and Savage actually was further back on the field during much of the game, against Rotherham, going back to kind of retain and help out Dorset a bit, who's not the best progressive passer of the ball, in comparison to a Brafer. So I think that Kamari Doyle was not allowed by Rotherham to have a good game, and Reading struggled to build around that for a while. But they came close to winning the game in the first half through the creativity of Wing and through some of these chances that they created. And for me, especially the second one that bounces to Kelvin right in front of the goal. I mean, you've got to, after a corner, you've got to at least put that on target. So yeah, I think that this is a game where Rotherham decided, let's lock down Kamari Doyle and see what else Reading can do. They still made a pretty good, after the first 5 minutes or so, Reading still kind of went at Rotherham for a bit and could have taken the lead. That didn't happen, and we've talked about what game state can do to a team a lot this year. Last thing I'll say too, just on defense and how much the other team were playing and all these kinds of things. I talk about PPDA, passes per defensive action, quite a lot. And basically Sellers, who we know is a high pressing manager, he had that closer to sort of like 8.5 when he was the Reading manager. Under Noel, it kind of went up and are between 10 and 11 PPDA. First 2 games under Liam, we are right back down to that 8, even averaging just underneath 8 at the moment, which kind of speaks to that intensity that Liam wants. So even if the players were, fit enough for the level previously, I think that he's going to want them to be even fitter to play this. And there is definitely value to that. I mean, Rotherham, if you look at their PPDA, so how long before they made a defensive action, they were up in like the 30s at points of the second half. So they just stopped playing football, basically, and just let us come at them. And it can be hard to break down a defense like that again had conceded 3 in 6 games. So yeah, I thought definitely things to improve on, but there's good reasons for why it was harder to create in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just reading the part of the report from the brand new website, which we're going to talk about in a minute, Ryan. Huffing and puffing, it took a Charlie Savage stunner from distance, 12 minutes from time to salvage a point and keep up a fine run of home results. Straight after the emotions that you want to win every game, the gaffer told Royals TV, I thought we controlled a large part of the game with possession, even with our structure. In the final third, where the edge has got to come in, we have to get better, and we will. The game was a little bit stopped. I'm going to stop there because I don't want to talk about the referee. You've already done that on TikTok anyway, or someone has at the club. If you haven't checked that out yet, check out the very cheeky basketball related TikToks. Great.
I can't take credit for that. I'll give all credit to Mr. Luke Jarrett for that one.
Oh,
I'm not
sticks
going
him
to
right up there when the inevitable email comes from the EFL. Goodness me. In all seriousness, was there? You could kind of sense a frustration in Liam's voice, as he was doing this. And I think in another interview he did use the word frustration. Was there a sense within the group after the game that that's a game we should have won and could have won?
Yeah, I think so. There was definitely some elements of frustration as they were coming off the pitch. You could tell it was a game we probably should be winning. I mean, from my perspective, from the press box upstairs, probably should have won it given the 2 Calvin chances we had as well. Rotherham did make it very, very, very difficult for us. There's definitely an element of frustration, and Liam's very good in the way he sort of came across, I thought, especially in the Royals TV interview, but you could tell it really sort of he thought we should be winning that game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, just that 2 weeks at Bearwood. Have you seen a kind of renewed optimism within the group after what has been a poor start to the season. There's no way around it. We've said that time and again on the pod, and in various articles that we've done throughout this season. Do the players feel like they're on an upward trajectory at the moment in terms of the ideas that Liam and his relatively new coaching team are bringing in, or is it still a case of being quite tentative about making sure we don't lose games at this stage of the season because we're still 18th, 19th in the table. Where are they kind of at the moment, having had that fortnight on the training pitch?
See, I think it's kind of weird because in what the players say to us, anyway, when they come to do interviews or they say to us like before we start interviews, there's always sort of been that level of optimism there that what's happened isn't good enough and we should be kicking on and we should be challenging the top half of the league. No matter if that was Noel, no matter if that was Liam, the optimism has still been there from both kind of sides of the pan. Really, they've always been saying, "Look, we aren't where we want to be. We're going to push forward." I wouldn't say there's a renewed sense of optimism off the pitch because I think the optimism's always been, Let's push forward." Uh, Hearing the little things that I hear, that I think the players are very impressed with him and the way he's come across. Um, and yeah, I'd argue that there is a recognition from everyone that look, the start wasn't what we wanted, but it's still salvageable. We're definitely moving in the right direction. I think they definitely think that we can still challenge towards the top half of the league, and
Yeah.
I think we're all in a good place to do it.
The season is salvageable, and the last 4 points have been savageable. Thank
Ooh,
you.
I
look
like
at
that.
you.
Yeah, very good. Can I actually, on the personnel again, and Ryan, I'm not going to make you slag off any of your colleagues, don't worry. I did think I thought the subs were pretty meh against Rotherham, and I think that was partially a response to the wingers not really getting the runs at their fullbacks that maybe they wanted. But again, when you're attacking like a very banked, I mean, they really were. Ryan, you and I debated before about whether you call a back three, or a back five, and this was a back five. Like they were chunked up together, and two people on Randall Williams, or mostly a Brafer actually, when he wanted to make that sort of run at the fullback. One thing that got me a little bit excited, and then they moved him back to left back shortly after, but we briefly put Garcia at right wing. And I don't think that he tore the world alight there by any means, but he had one sort of run right through the middle in the half space into the opponent's half. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a nice, dangerous place to have Andre Garcia because he is a creative player. He is a bit magic at times. He's got that Aziz, Elise sort of, or Bachman nonchalant, weird ability just to pull something out. Maybe I just think about players with cool hair. I don't know. Also, bad FC26 card. I don't know if you've shown that to him, Ryan, but they
Oh, who
changed
knows?
his profile. Yeah, and I feel bad for him. It's not the best.
I'm not gonna. Well, he took that picture, is all I'm gonna say.
Ah, okay. All
That's
right.
his headshot for the season.
Nice,
That's
nice.
how they would have got that image.
Excellent, excellent.
I mean, before we head into mailbag and talk a little bit about Ryan's work behind the scenes, just I'm thinking about this game as I have done probably more than any other because of the healthy debate. All jokes aside, that it did spark. That there was a few of us in the group who felt it was a poor performance, and conversely not a good result. Others were a lot more positive. I think from my point of view, we yeah, Rotherham were good, but with all due respect to them, they're 11th, right? It's not like we were playing top of the table and we the previous home game, we'd put Stevenage to the sword, who are kind of up the top of the table or were at the top of the table at that time in really, really good form. So, for me, the away games are going to be difficult. We've got Blackpool coming up, we've got Bradford, we've got Plymouth as well, who obviously aren't in good form, but all the games in this league, because it's so wide open, those away games are difficult. They're challenging for a team like us at the moment for lots of reasons. And I just felt that we lacked a lot of individual quality at times
Mm.
in the game on Saturday. I time and again, I really, really like Kelvin, and I don't want to keep coming back to him, but he should have scored. You're right, Ross. He should have scored two goals. And we can't keep relying on players like Wing or Charlie Savage to get us out of the mire with wonder goals that aren't going to happen every game, you know.
Mm.
And I just feel there needs to be more of a creative spark. You know, those older players need to be leading by example and really dragging that team through these games when it gets difficult. You know, Rotherham were okay. You know, I might not be paying them too much credit, but in those situations, you know, we're not coming in and we shouldn't be worried at playing at home. And it,
Yeah.
it just felt like everything, you know, everything got to us a little bit. The occasion, you know, it might be the fireworks, it might be the AI video before the game. It could have been the extended crowd that we had. I think there was like 16,000 or something in there, which is great. You know, as much as I wins, these grassroots fixtures are absolutely vital for the club and the future of it. But you know, final word on you, Ross, because you know we kind of went backwards and forwards on Saturday, and you know, I said some things I regret now in terms of in terms of the way I come across it. But
He
like,
got wet, listeners, and he got very upset.
yeah,
All right.
exactly. I was livid. I got the last hot dog in B13 at half time, mate, so I was
Wow,
buzzing
there
about
you go.
that.
Can I tell you what? Or you sounds like you want to say something, but I can
No, go
tell
on,
you
you do
if you
it.
want what's different versus a month ago for me, and what makes this better. So for me, even though we won against Stevenage and we didn't lose. We drew against Rotherham. Rotherham was a better performance against a team that have been in pretty good form in the last little while. Stevenage were in kind of middling form from what I remember when they came in. I think they'd lost a couple on the bounce. And I thought Reading were good for the first 50 in that, and then Stevenage kind of got on top, and Reading rode their luck a little bit on their way out of that game. Obviously, Pereira made a good double save towards the end. Reading controlled this game from start to finish. Maybe not the first 5 minutes, but they basically forced Rotherham into their shell for large periods. Did Pereira make a save in this game? I don't think he did. So I thought Reading were completely in control, and so for me, the kind of attacking and the going forward, I like individually, I think there were some players that didn't quite have the game that they would have wanted to have. But I think that the club as a whole, you could see the work from the 2 weeks, and that they're getting more comfortable in their system that they're trying to use, with the sort of 3-box-3 when they're in control possession, with the 4-4-2 when they're pushing high, and then back into the 4-2-3-1 when they're in their own half. And that's the other thing that's more encouraging for me is I think Kuig talked about like not really knowing where things were going next with Noel Hunt. There's a very clear thing that Liam is trying to do here. He is trying to build a team that can move through different shapes in different like style, in different parts of play. And that's encouraging to me because it is just a little bit more professional, in my opinion. So yeah, I thought this Rotherham display was actually better. I'm really hoping for Kelvin that he gets on a goal scoring run soon, because that could ignite both his career and our season. My ring light is falling down. It's fallen down.
Beg your pardon. This is a
Yeah.
family show.
My my ring light. My
What do you
ring
need that
light.
for? It's not blooming.
I
I'm
have
celeb. Get me
to
out of
the
here.
soft light on my face during the recording process, just to
Did
make
you buy that, or did the podcast buy that?
no, one of my colleagues gave it to me.
Good.
So
I was
yeah.
about to send an awful email.
You've got the Christmas lights up, so we're gonna have to debate when's too early. November
Never
24th.
too early to
December,
celebrate
first weekend of
Christmas.
December.
Third
First.
weekend in December. Yeah, that's
Third
my family
weekend.
I
too.
said first. I said first.
Oh,
Oh,
is it
First.
fast. Oh, I
first?
was going to
Okay.
say, I was like, all right, Scrooge.
If you don't buy a Christmas tree here by like November 17th, you're not getting one. It ain't happening, which is quite funny.
Wow. Well, fair enough.
Thanksgiving, innit? Thanksgiving.
Um, I've completely forgotten what you were saying.
I don't know. Something about the team. Did you have any last summarizing thoughts about the game, Ryan?
Uh, I'd say a game that we probably should have won, but looking at the form and coming into it, is a draw a bad result? I think if you beat Mansfield and you beat Doncaster at home, a draw against Rotherham's not the end of the world. And I
Mm.
know that's a lot of if, buts, and maybes, but I'm still looking at it as, look, it's a point in the right direction. It's 2 games undefeated in the league under the new manager, I should say. And yeah, let's just kick on and build and try and get the first one in Blackpool since I was born.
There you go. Last thing
It's
I'll
another
say, because
team,
I want
isn't
to,
it? Honestly, this league is littered with teams that we can't beat away.
yeah.
Lincoln started the season like what was it? Some absurd.
Boy, they're very impish, so it's hard. Last thing, I'm going to talk a bunch of trash for fun. Do you guys ever, when you're playing like five-a-side or what, do you ever like, do you know what a weight room issue is? Is
Not
this
strong
a,
enough.
yeah, thank you, Ryan. Good. Yeah, not strong enough. I very much enjoyed Martha for Rotherham on Saturday, who was having severe weight room issues and complaining to the ref every single time that he went into a shoulder barge and then got absolutely pancaked. Brilliant. Chef's kiss. Enjoyed my Saturday
He
afternoon.
just needs to eat a Snickers, doesn't
He
he?
just needs to eat a Snickers, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Listen, we're going to put this one to bed. We're going to move on. We go headstrong into Blackpool on Saturday. We'll talk about that in the preview coming up. But first, we've got mailbag and a little bit of delving behind the scenes of what Ryan actually does on a daily basis. So join us after this very short break. Welcome back to episode 441 of the Tilehurst podcast. Joining myself and Ross is Ryan Jeferiss, the communications executive. So we've teased it all the way through this pod so far. So we're going to talk a little bit around what he does day to day, sort of, as and when we come to it in the mailbag. But really, really pleased to have you on as an official employee of the club now. Seems a long time ago that you were kind of moonlighting as a bit of a guest or kind of a semi-regular guest really on this pod, and doing stuff for us originally, but now obviously completely concentrated on a professional football club as opposed to an unprofessional joke of a podcast. So you've gone up in the world. You really have.
Can't forget your roots, though, can you? Can't forget your roots.
Exactly right. You're paying it back or paying it forward or whatever the kids say these days. Right, let's do some questions. We had a question a couple of weeks ago that we didn't get to because it was too late for the pod, and this came from Nick. He said, I'd like to hear yours and Ross's thoughts on who our best fullbacks are and why. Great question. Let's love a fullback.
that is a good question.
I'm not convinced by any of them. At RB, we've got Yids, Abrafa and Ahmed. And at LB, Garcia, Jacobs and Dorset. At the moment, I'd say my favourites are Yids and Dorset. Or Dorset, if you're
Dorset.
if you're Ross. The man with many accents. Ross, let's go to you first of all in terms of the the fullbacks, because we're conscious that these are these are effectively Ryan's co-workers. So if you want to start with the fullback conundrum, that would be
Sure.
fantastic.
I think the fullback thing, I think it's changed a little bit recently because I think it's quite clear that Liam has a very different idea of what he wants his fullback to do, to what Liam or to what Noel, had them doing. I think Abrafa is one of the places that you can see some changes in what he's asking for out of the fullbacks. But I think that beyond that, all of the fullbacks that we have some sort of perceived drawback. So Dorset, I think, is very solid in the air. He's pretty solid physically. One-on-one defending, especially, I think, is pretty good with Dorset. He's not the best, especially progressive dribbling, progressive passing. He's actually better than I think some people would think, but he can't really get forward with the ball at his feet that well. So he's kind of got that issue. Yiadom getting on a little bit. I'm not really sure what's going on with Jacob Garcia. Last season we had these issues where he was getting beat with the seam pass over and over again. So he has some defensive deficiencies. And I think that's really the issue with the fullbacks right now is, just kind of finding the thing that fits what Liam is actually trying to do. But I think it's probably going to be Dorset and Abrafa a lot of the time going forward. I don't think you'll see Ahmed for a little while. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe he's injured. Is he injured? Is Ahmed injured? I don't know.
We don't know. He's closed
No.
ranks, isn't he, Ryan, on the old injury news, Liam? He doesn't
Yeah.
want to talk about that at all.
No. So, in any case, I think what you're going to see at the moment with this particular setup is a Brafer on one side and Dorset on the other, and really, if you take away the faces, it's a fullback who can push up into the midfield line and push all the way up into the forward line in the final third, and then one elbow back, so a player who is a fullback in defensive stages, but then can push into sort of like that left-sided centre centre back or right-sided centre back, whatever you need, back three to make the 3-box-3 in possession. So I think it's going to be Dorset and a Brafer because they fit the style now. But I actually think that's been something that Liam's set up. I think the squad is actually a little bit better for Liam's setup in that way because I think the other fullbacks all had, some sort of perceived deficiency. They're good going forward, they're not good backward, those kinds of things. So, yeah, does that answer the question? I think it does.
Yeah. Who are your favourites?
A Brafer and a Brafer. And a Brafer. I think a Brafer is great. I really like a Brafer. He has a tendency to have a smelly game.
It was
From
great
time to
against
time.
Stevenage. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
against
but he
Stevenage.
also just has the potential to bring something just exceptional out, and I just think he's a very talented player, Kelvin Brafer. So yeah,
Although knowing you probably gave him a 4 in that game.
I probably gave him a 4. Yeah, I think I gave him a 5 in this game against Rotherham, even though I like him. So yeah.
Tom Sheeran, he's keeping up his streak.
There we
might
go.
as well call this the Tom Sheeran corner.
He's treating us like Duolingo.
Yes, yeah. He never knows when we're going to pop up. He's just there ready with his reply to the tweet.
Yeah.
He said, "Good job getting Rick on the pod." Rick was doing a blue mic and fireworks on the pitch, wasn't he? At the end of the game, our mate Rick. Liam said we controlled the game on Saturday. Thoughts on that? Should Long Kelvin start on the wing and give Marco Mani a shot? Under new coaching, he could be better, and Kelvin scares defence with the ball at his feet. And then how bad was that ref? Ryan, is it worth giving Marco Mani a shot up top now that Jack Marriott is not around presently?
I don't see a reason why not. He had a half decent chance at the end where he headed just over, I want to say, on Saturday. So I think it's worth giving him a shot under a new system as well, just to see how it works and everything. Me personally, I've always felt Calvin's best position was out wide anyway. So to me, in my head, that kind of makes sense. Uh, it's just whether sort of, if you look at, from what I'm analysing upstairs, if you look at sort of the system that Liam's trying to go with, you very much have the player that comes inside when a Breffer or whoever the fullback bombing forward is more of sort of a creative player. Kelvin has that creative ability about him, but in my head, he's more of sort of that finisher type where he's coming inside to try and score a goal, rather than say a Matt Ritchie or a Paddy Lane, where you're looking at, yes, Paddy Lane's got a good goal in him, Matt Ritchie potentially does as well, but I'd argue, very good in the sort of the creative sense of that they're going to produce a fantastic ball across, whereas Kelvin can cut inside and smack one in the top corner, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, Marco Mani did not start the season well at all, and then came to life. I can't even remember the game. I mean,
Through the cup games, right? Through the
I'm
pizza.
not trying to be that guy, but it's one of the ones I was commentating on. But I don't know talking about that. But he was quite good. He needed to score a goal there.
Tom mentions control. So I want to pick that up because I agree. We took a lot more control in this game, and that was part of why I thought this was a better performance than against Stevenage, because I thought we kind of lost control and the game became very back and forth in the last 20 minutes against Stevenage. So part of the reason I say Wing managed more accurate passes to the final third in this game than he usually attempts on average. So he managed 13 accurate passes into the final third in this game. That's a lot. And it kind of implies, again, like he was a little bit further forward, again, beating his average for even attempted passes. So more opportunities to make a good, clean, easy pass into the final third. I think that's coming from being able to move him a little bit further up the field. And again, if we've got him a little bit further up the field, that control can come with that. But yeah, I just think sometimes they're passing sideways, that does happen. But I went and looked at the stats afterwards. We're still passing forwards more often and more accurately than Rotherham in that particular game. So there were still, incisive passes, I think.
Adam Jones, TT alumni, has completely abused his power and not gone through the official channels of giving us questions. He's used the TTE group chat on WhatsApp. Other messaging services are available. And he said, how much emphasis should Liam place on making quick starts to games. It made the difference against Stevenage, and if Kelvin E had buried his chances in the game, could have been a lot different. This is the game against Rotherham. Um, who wants to take that one?
I'll
Good
go for
question.
it. I'll
Yeah.
go for it. Very important in the sense of it helps keep the fans on side, if you know what I mean. I think the quick start to the game is if the fans can see front-footed football from the minute go and sort of running really, really busting a gut to try and get in front, then the fans will kind of stick with it and see effort. I think on Saturday you saw maybe with a little bit of a slower first 5 minutes of the game, there was already an element of frustration creeping in, and probably through the fact that we've not had some positive results this season. Some of the fans may have been thinking, "Oh, not this again," and there's an element of frustration of that coming in, like you said earlier, Ben. But I think making the quick starts is definitely giving the team one a platform to build off for the rest of the game, which is fairly obvious to say, but also to giving the sort of not that they should have breathing space for the fans because the fans should support them no matter what, but
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's
yeah,
tentative. It felt
give the
tentative on
platform.
Saturday. It felt like nervy in the stands.
Yeah, yeah, I'd
I
say
think
so.
teams are getting better at using that against the home team too. I think the away teams are starting to use it a little bit more and try to frustrate early on to, do little things that get get the crowd wound up, get the ref doing things that wind the crowd up too.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really want to talk about the ref, but it wasn't good. It
He
wasn't a
was
good
present
performance at
and
all.
accounted for, and
Exactly right. He was
yeah,
present.
yeah.
So yeah, not good really. Ross, you've got an email, haven't you? We love an email
We
in
do love an
this
email.
parish. We
We
love an
do.
email.
We do love an email. It's a question for the Codcast, which is great. The thing I like about it is that it starts with not slating Ross for the ratings, then it slates me for the
It goes
ratings.
dark. It
It
goes
get
dark real quick.
yeah,
It's good.
it wishes harm upon my family. No. Anyway, this is from Alex, another TTE contributor. Going via email. If you want to email us to tilehursten@gmail.com. So yeah, all your email goodness in there. But just know that if you write a really long question, it might take me a week or two to actually read it out. Sorry about that. Alex says, not slating Ross for the ratings, but I'm really interested to understand why Wing earned a 7 against Rotherham. From my admittedly far less informed tactical perspective, I don't think that's right. Alex is good on the website. He was a hindrance more often than a help in our attacking play. He says each time he picked up the ball when dropping deep to collect it, he both blocked the centre backs from being able to push up and lost Reading a player in the middle of Rotherham's half to break the lines because the player should have been there. Should have been Wing. Savage can't be expected to cover 2 players worth of ground every 90 minutes. And as a result, there was often a gaping chasm in the middle of the park and attacking moves would break down. So he kind of asked us what we think about Wing. And I kind of want to put it to you two first, because I've called this the Lewis Wing problem a couple times this season, and I think I need to make it quite clear that it's not a problem, more a debate. Dilemma might even be too negative of a term. But I think that there's like some sense that like he could be used in a different way that Alex is putting out here. Yeah, I guess. What did you guys think of Wing against Rotherham?
Tried to make things happen. Yeah, I think that's it. He was receiving the ball off the back four and trying to give us a chance. And I think if you look at the position the Sixers have in that game, the reason potentially why Alex was saying he's dropping towards the centre backs, we spoke about earlier with Rotherham in that low block and sort of not being able to break them down. I mean, the space is going to come more nearer the centre backs, and when you've got someone with a range of passing of Lewis Wing, he's going to drop deeper and go towards the centre backs to try and pick up the ball and spray it around. And as you said, it created the chance for Kelvin. I'm a staunch defender of I would always have Lewis Wing in the six because it's worked for the last, well, to a certain extent, maybe not so much this season, but it's worked every time we played that. I mean, look at last season as a prime example. We were seventh in the league with him in his six. I think we stick with it. I think it works. Uh, and I don't really see the arguments for him in the 10 because I think he contributes a lot more defensively. I was looking
Big
through.
body in what is
Yeah,
not
I
that
was
big of a
looking.
team.
Yeah, I was looking through Opta Analyst as well, and I'm going to do a very shameless plug here in the lead up to my opposition report, which I do before most games. I was looking at sort of ground rules one from the Reading team, and Wingy is one of the highest players in ground rules one, which is
Yeah.
something I think you'll lose if he goes further up the pitch in the 10 or in the 8. So for me, he's a 6, and I actually thought he had a good game on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Ben, do you want to? Is there anywhere else you would put Wing in this lineup? I don't think you would drop
No, I
him
mean,
either, right?
yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I mean, a few people have picked up. I know Bobbins in his article after the game talked about it as well. I just don't think the relationship is there with the wide players yet. Last season we were seeing balls kind of land exactly where they needed to be because he's timing the run and he's looking at where those players are moving. The wing spaces for me have been really, really erratic. So
Mm.
we need a settled team really. We need to be able to persist with a core, and I don't think either manager's been able to. Well, certainly Liam hasn't, but I don't think Noel was able to decide on really who the players outside of the core group of players were going to play regularly. Injuries, form, whatever. So I think he is very, very good at passing range. I just don't think it's coming off. Ryan's right. He was trying things on Saturday and it just didn't work. And sometimes you're going to get games that I don't think we're seeing his full potential at the moment. But then you could say that about a majority of players really in the team that we know well. So it's just not coming off for him. I wouldn't be looking to drop him at this stage.
No,
No.
because I think like you got to think about say this with the kids all the time, but like when you pass the ball, there is two people involved in that, right? Like wide receivers in the NFL
Yeah.
make tons of money just to catch a ball, to receive a ball. So receiving a ball is a skill. Ironically, Lewis Wing, you can look up. You're going to hate this, Ben, but you can look up progressive receptions stats on Y
What's that?
Scout. Ironically,
Playing
Lewis,
football.
yeah, ironically, Lewis Wing is really good at those, as well as being very good at the actual progressive passing itself, which I think we would expect. He's actually quite good at like popping up in space and making the right run and things like that. I think something that Reading are dealing with is a very different back or center back pairing to the previous year as well in terms of like how it approaches the build up. And Benge, you always had that sort of threat with him that if two players bit on him a little bit too hard and then he got the other side of them, he could
Mm.
run forward and take 30 yards out of the opposition very, very quickly. And I think that I like Des and Porty. I think they're nice and solid. I think that
Yeah.
Porty, I really am seeing the vision now with why he was brought in. Porty had the second highest number of touches in the box of any Reading player on Saturday, joint with some of the other forward players. But Kelvin had the most, and then Porty had the second most because he is. When you've got Charlie Savage who can put the ball wherever he likes from a set play, Porty becomes very, very useful. With that ability just to head it back across. He actually had one chance in the first half where he probably should have attempted the shot rather than putting it back across the net. Another, repeatable attacking move that we created in that game. But I think that gives Wing a very different thing to actually deal with. But again, for me, green shoots. I mean, we had over 60% possession in this game. The forward passing accuracy was over 75%. Wing has more accurate passes into the final third
Mm.
than he averages attempts in this particular game. I think on other days this is a 3-1 or a 3-0. But yeah.
Well, before we talk about the next opportunity for us to get points on the board, which of course is just a short trip up to Blackpool on Saturday. Um, we've got a few questions from your co-workers, Ryan. You probably would have seen these.
Yeah, so I've
Um,
seen this.
I love an inside joke, to be honest. Love an inside joke. We start with James Earnshaw. I don't even know, Stu, everyone knows who James Earnshaw is.
X
Um,
Chronicle. Last
what's
time
his
I yeah, go
what's
ahead.
his title now? What is he? Media executive.
I need to get this right. He's media executive, yes.
Fine. Okay. So I'm guessing that your communications means that you might be responsible for a little bit of social media here and there, but we'll come to that in a minute. So James says, have you seen the film Dumb and Dumber yet?
So to bit of subtext context behind it, I've been getting grilled in the office because I've never seen the film Dumber and Dumber,
You've
which
never seen Dumb and Dumber?
according to a certain head of player logistics, Mr. Bishop, is a war crime, and is absolutely acceptable. Uh, I've been trying to find it on streaming platforms, can't find it, can't
Do you
find
want
it.
to hear my dirty secret, Ryan? I've not seen Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah,
You haven't
No,
seen
yeah,
the second one?
no, I haven't seen either of them.
You've never
okay.
seen.
Yeah. I haven't seen either of them.
Oh,
So,
Seriously, I'm
exactly,
not.
exactly.
yeah, I'm in
I'm
your
not.
column
I'm not
too.
hugely offended by that. It's not. Is it funny? Yeah, I suppose in spells it is. It's not like you haven't. If you turn around and said I haven't seen Jaws or whatever,
That's what I
that
was
would
just going to
be.
say. What's the biggest movie you haven't seen? I think mine is Back to the Future.
Shawshank Redemption,
Okay.
um, Inception.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you're
Yeah, that's a
showing
good
your
one.
age now if you're thinking Inception's a big film. I tell you.
No, Inception's a
Um,
big film. What are you talking about?
I would say if you haven't seen Jurassic Park, that's pretty horrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jurassic Park is like a number one for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
But so how did this come about? Like, shouldn't you be working?
No, you see, what we actually all do at Reading is we sit there and we just debate films all day. We just sit there and
No, because people
yes,
will
dumber
believe
and dumber.
that. You'll get
it's sort of like a
an angry
tier list
email.
I'm definitely
competition.
going to get some abuse here, aren't I?
Yeah, you will. You will. Okay, your videographer, I guess, isn't he, Luke? Why do they call you Dave?
Um, so it hasn't fully caught on this yet, which I'm hoping it doesn't. But not at my old job, my job before that, my boss used to say I look like Rodney from Only Fools and Horses because I used to
Nice.
have.
Okay.
Mm,
Yeah.
a little bit.
And I mentioned it in the office one day, and that's where that question comes from. Apparently, I look like Rodney.
Oh,
So,
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Well, look, let's talk a little bit about your role because obviously, communication generally from the club in the last few years has not been fantastic. It's not for a number of reasons. Personnel, situations with the club. I wouldn't say kind of muzzling that communication, but it's not. It's not been. It feels like it's not been a priority from a fan's point of view. What what are you kind of responsible for, and what do you do day to day? And then just talk us a little bit, or talk to us a little bit around what the media away day is like in terms of do you all get in the same car? What do you listen to on the on the this I was going to say the car stereo. You know what I mean?
I know.
On the audio system or
it's just
whatever.
we call them the Royals on repeat for
Exactly. That's what
24
we listen
hours.
to.
Yeah, exactly.
We
You
listen
better
to.
say you listen to this pod as well. I tell you.
Give it like a month and there'll be a lo-fi version of that available on YouTube and you go for a listen to.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just talk us a little bit around what you do, Ryan, and how that fits in with the overall club.
So my role on a day to day is sort of mostly looking after the social media side of things. More Twitter than anything. Luke likes his Instagram, but we all chip in. One thing I will say before what I'm about to say with what I specifically do, it's not all exclusive to me what I do. Us as the four, there's four of us. There's Phil, who's the head of sort of the department. Me, Luke, James. We all chip in. We all do everything. It's not just this specifically me thing, but. I will look after socials. Recently, quite a big project for me has been the redesign of the website. It's still a work in progress, I will say. I'm hoping certain fans will see that it's got a little bit better. It's been something that I've been working on quite a lot recently. Rob Kuig used the analogy, which is very much true. It's like we're trying to fix an aeroplane while we're flying. All of this stuff is normally done pre-season or not in season. We're having to do this in season with games and everything here, there, and everywhere. So at the moment, my day to day is pretty much looking after the website, looking after what I can improve with that, looking after Twitter, looking after Instagram, Facebook, putting together different bits of content where I can. As I mentioned earlier, I've started an opposition report show on YouTube on the channel. Where I just speak to an opposition fan every. That's really cool.
Been
Researching
good
that.
that because it means that we can just talk even more trash during our preview section. Just go listen to Ryan. He's old TTE host. He's on the club anyway. Whatever. It's basically TTE. It's fine. It is
Exactly.
good though. Listen to it.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm not trying to big myself up here, but they're definitely getting better as they go on. And yeah, I'm enjoying that. And then in terms of what it looks like on a match day for me, because obviously that's a big part of my role. I mean, certain people that I've spoke to when I say I work at Running Football Club, they go, "What? So you just work match days? What do you do Monday to Friday?" Match days for me, if it's a home match day, it will be filming arrivals. So when the players get there, that'll pretty much be one of my first things. Looking after media passes, so handing out the boring stuff, handing out media passes to everyone. Then it will be onto team sheets, which is quite a big thing. Making sure that media have got the team sheets, making sure that the tunnel's got the team sheets, making sure hospitality have them as well. And that's quite a big job. Team news as well, posting that on socials. And one thing that the rhythm we've kind of settled into now as a department is that so you'll have Phil on commentary, you'll then have Luke pitchside doing the videography stuff. I will occasionally do some bits on the phone before and after the game. James Earnshaw will do the match reports, and I'll do the socials on Twitter. Occasionally, we intermix depending on who's at what game. Obviously, as with any job, certain people miss certain days, but that's kind of the general structure of what it's like. So I'll be covering the game, doing the live updates on Twitter, and then my favorite part of the job, if we win, is sprinting down the stairs and getting my phone out and filming the players coming off the pitch at the end and getting a little reaction from them before setting up the cameras and getting the interviews ready with the manager and everything. So that's kind of an overview of what I do. I guess I didn't mention as well, kind of the interviews and the club, like different bits that we do there as well, organising press coming in and all that jazz as well. So yeah,
Helping players to take their FC 26 headshots, not being able to take Andre Garcia, take his
yeah.
headshot for FC 26.
Yeah, arranging things like the media days where we get the headshots done,
Yeah.
and also some perks of the job as well when sticker books turn up and get delivered, and we're like, "Oh, this is really fun."
Yeah.
That was a really fun day last week. But I still do some of the videography stuff as well. I know I spoke on here sort of last year about doing the videography stuff. I don't do it as much. Luke is absolutely amazing at that. It's great learning off what he can teach me, and I mean, even a simple thing of last year to put into perspective, the difference that you will see as fans. We were filming last year's content on an iPhone and a gimbal for 90 minutes. That was me sitting there. And don't get me wrong, I personally enjoyed it and I think it was very good. The content that went out, I'm going to say that was my content, but it's gone up another level this year because we've now got a two camera setup that we'll use. We're looking at different ways that we can improve sort of the videography side of things as well. Luke's been using his 360 camera as well, which has been quite a
Yeah,
lot of
some
fun.
cool stuff on there, especially if you play. Yeah, I quite like. Does Luke play, or does he still play?
Uh,
You used to play or anything like that?
he used to play, doesn't play as much anymore.
Okay, he's
I
got a
think,
decent touch for a cameraman.
oh, trust me, we've heard all about that touch. We've heard all
Okay,
about that touch. Don't
I'm
you worry
sure.
about
I'm sure.
I mean, talk to us a little bit around, because obviously Blackpool on Saturday. What does that look like for you guys? Do you go up the night before? You go up in, separate car? Are you allowed on a bus? Like, how does it work?
So we have what we call the media car, which is the four of us. We always travel up together. We meet in a location. We travel up. This weekend is a slightly rarer one. Normally we're there and back in a day. Because we've got multiple people who can drive the car, who can kind of split it. But this week we're staying up on the Friday with it being a 12:30 kickoff. Otherwise, that's a ridiculous start.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is. Oh, I've just learned that I have to get up at 7:30 in
yeah,
real
sorry.
time.
Yeah.
Oh,
So we'll be out doing that from Friday lunchtime. But there's a little thing that fans may not realise unless you spotted us in a service station around the country. There is a fifth member of the media team that
oh,
doesn't quite get spoken about enough. He's currently not with us at the moment. He's currently at Hampton and Richmond, I should say. But Matt Rowley, who has been on the bench for a couple of the cup games this season, and he's also in and out of third choice depending on if he's at the club or if he's out on loan. Basically, if he's had to play in the 21s game the night before, which is normally Friday nights, he will jump in the
yeah.
car with us and he will join us, which is actually really fun. So we class Matt Rowley as our fifth member of the media team. Good old Matthew.
What? Why does he do that?
Well, if he's playing on the Friday night, the players will travel up the night before.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he will have to travel with us, or he's got to travel by himself.
Okay.
And he's a good laugh, is Matt. He's a good laugh. And in response to your radio question earlier, if it's James driving, it's Radio X. If it's Phil driving, it's Radio. I want to say it's Radio 4 or Radio 2. And
Okay.
occasionally we will have the Tilehurst unknown.
Yeah,
Occasionally.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
praised
I mean,
Phil's.
occasionally it should be like premium should be there, ready to go.
Yeah, the Sirius XM sponsored Tilehurst end that
Yeah,
comes out of the Spotify car thing. It's very
yeah,
exciting. I
exactly.
forgot, is you were a goalkeeper too, Ryan? Is Matt taller than you?
Matt is a little bit taller than me, yeah. A little
Okay,
bit.
nice.
He-
Two goalies in the car. That's a bit
oh,
more. That's 50 pence more fuel.
yeah,
Exactly right.
yeah, we are, and Luke's quite tall as well, so sometimes it can be a bit of a tight squeeze. But Matt, he's out on loan at the moment, so it's just the four of us traveling. So this Friday we'll travel up, stay
Yeah.
overnight, and then Blackpool away at 12:30. Which who doesn't love Blackpool away, hey?
Yeah,
Yeah, tricky
yeah.
one.
Well, so if you
Well,
see a clown car of guys over 6'5" getting out of a service station near Blackpool, give Ryan and the boys a hello.
All in Reading tracksuits as well normally. So
There you
there you
it's
go.
go. There you go. Right, we're going to do a very brief preview. We're going to be quite lazy with the preview, I'll be honest with you, because we've got Ryan on here. So I think you know what's coming, listeners. I think you know what we're going to do. So we're going to take a very short break, and we'll be back into the preview for the trip up to Blackpool. Right, final part of episode 441 of the Tilehurst End podcast. As you know, and as you will have had throughout this pod, Ryan is doing like an opposition view before every game that we play this season, where he talks to people like us, technically. Probably more accomplished than us, but people like us from the club that we're playing. The selection process for some clubs is obviously quite difficult because I would imagine that there's probably quite a few for Blackpool. I would imagine that when we play Cardiff, there's quite a few fan sites for Cardiff. Bolton, I know there's a few for Bolton. So what is the selection process? You just go, oh yeah, I know a contact for them, or I've listened to their stuff and they're all right. Because to be blunt, some of the podcasts that I've listened to from other clubs, excluding this one, are just really bland. They're just it's just misery, and at least we try and have a little bit of a laugh on this one, hopefully. But do you know what I mean? Like they're quite serious, aren't they?
the selection I'll be honest, there's not an in-depth selection process for it. Phil, obviously, with his
Of
Wickham
course.
links, he used to do this before as a part of a wider podcast called
Mm.
Ringing the Hops. So normally it's look across my desk and go, Phil, have you spoken to anyone from Blackpool or Rotherham? And then I go, oh yeah, I spoke to him. Here's his number, speak to him, or here's his Twitter, speak to him, just say you know me, kind of thing. That's Jake from here from the Lincoln. He's been really good. Again, Phil knew him before. Yep, there's his number. So that's part one. If that fails, then part two will be going on the opposition's hashtag and finding what podcast is the most prominent, basically. I would love to say, I'm exposing some truths here. I love to say I listened to their podcast before, but not always. My research will be a quick,
Busy.
maybe.
There's things to do.
Yeah, it'll be a quick look through the articles. It'll be looking at stats, be rewatching the highlights. I try and go into it with a little bit of what the narrative is, maybe around the fan base and around the hashtag of the opposition club, but
Yeah.
also what I like my pretext to it. So, for example, the Rotherham one, Rotherham are running their numbers quite high. They're bottom of the XG table at the moment, so it's literally just the case of going right. It, tell me, do the numbers match the eye test? What do you think, kind of thing, and things like that. So yeah.
Mhm. They are good. They've been playing them before if you're an international fan, I think you'll know they've been playing them
Yeah.
before the games. And they're right before the games, right before Phil and Neville come on. And they're good. And the thing I've enjoyed it, like Ryan says, the narrative from the other side is good to hear. So
Mm.
things that we should have been doing 2 years ago, but we're too busy saying, well, they won one of their last 5 games.
Yeah.
But it's good
Listen,
stuff, and go and listen to it when it
I,
comes out this week.
I'd love to get, you know, opposition view on here, but it's hard enough organising the two of us, isn't it, really?
Yeah, we're like the world's smallest but most typical Dungeons and Dragons party that plays
Yeah.
in person,
It's a nightmare.
basically. Yeah.
I mean, look, we won't do a preview because we will, you've given us your time here tonight, Ryan. So we'll signpost people to your preview.
Blackpool are rubbish and they're in the relegation zone. If you
Yeah,
wanted a
boo.
knowledge of what they're doing, and if you thought my second place prediction was funny, well, I predicted Blackpool to get promoted too. So
You're
showed you
dying,
everything I
absolutely
know.
dying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite a unique thing for a professional football club to go and talk to um, a fan site or a fan podcast, isn't it? I think it's a really positive thing, and it gives them a little bit of exposure as well, because there might be within their fan base watching it. I've never heard of that podcast, and gives them exposure within their own fan base as well. However unlikely that might be. So I think it's a real positive. I do, and I've enjoyed watching them, Ryan. I have to say it's almost like you've learned everything from presenting from me. To be honest, I'm joking. But honestly, they are really, really good, and we're not going to kind of butcher a preview now. We're just going to signpost to what Ryan does with the official site. So where could we find this week's preview? When is it out? Who's it with? What's the vibe?
I'm going to be deadly honest. I was off today, so I've not managed to source who it will.
God, Ryan, you've ruined it for everybody.
I know. You've built me up so well, but I can tell you it will be out definitely on Thursday on Reading's YouTube channel, so keep an eye out for that. And yeah, it's something I really enjoy doing. Thank you for your kind words, and hopefully Reading fans enjoy it. I'm always open to feedback of how I can improve it. So if any Reading fans are listening to this that think that I could maybe be asking X, Y, and Z, let me know. I'm always open to new ideas. I'm new to this as well, so yeah.
And speaking of YouTube, Ryan, are you subscribed to the Tilehurst End YouTube channel?
Of course I am.
Okay, excellent. And you too, listeners, could enjoy a fine subscription like that. Help us get up and over 1,000 subscribers. I'm trying to see if we can do it by the end of the year. It's getting tight, but I think it's something like 60 left. You can do it, listeners. You might not be
We've only got
subscribed.
60 left.
Well, no, right. You are not allowed to talk about the YouTube channel anymore. You just don't worry your little pretty face. You're on there. You appear on the
The
YouTube
cat was on there
channel.
last week as well. He's upstairs today.
Yeah, he's gone.
Made sure he's not coming down. Listen, Ryan, absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Honestly, we're really, really pleased for you, and really pleased that it's working out, and that you're enjoying it. It's so nice to hear. We had Rick on last week. We've had Phil on earlier in the season, and there seems to be a kind of a renewed excitement for working for the club, and we didn't have access to it, of course, during the previous few years, but it just felt like it was difficult to do that, and to work for the club. Whereas now it feels like it's kind of moving in an upward trajectory. So really, really pleased that you're enjoying it, and keep doing what you're doing, because a lot of the stuff is excellent, as is Luke's, as is obviously Phil's. Neville, is great on Royals TV, and obviously James doing the articles as well. So really, really pleased that it's working well. Keep up the good work, and stay in touch when you get big time. Don't, if you go after the Premier League or whatever, remember where you started. All right, So
thank you, lads. Much appreciated. And as I say, thank you for the opportunity you gave me back in Ruben's first season. So
it was, God, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, Ruben's first season. Ross, listen, look after yourself as well this week.
Thank you.
Stay warm, wrap up warm.
Yeah.
We'll be back early next week to hopefully talk about a win against the Tangerines. Have a lovely week, everybody. Stay safe, and come on, you Oz.